Hey everyone, welcome back to Data and Donuts. My name's Aaron. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Hanna Lawler. Hey Hannah, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. I'm hanging in there, but today we're here to talk about data coaching. And Hannah's been really fundamental at the one of the first colleges to really inspire us all to do something like this. And so I really wanted to hear from her and her perspective on things as she matures and moves things forward. But before we do that, Hannah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am currently the Dean of Institutional Research at Santa Monica College. I am an equity vendor, so on our campus, I'm really involved in our racial equity work. I've been at the institution for approximately 12 years. And yeah, I don't know if there's nothing else interesting to know.
It's interesting enough. That's cool.
Yeah.
So as we get in today, it'll just be a few questions and just to really hear your insight and your experience. So once again, thanks again. And we'll jump into the first question is,
Okay.
what are faculty data coaches and what do they do?
You know, faculty data coaches, I think they play a different role on different campuses. But on our campus, these are faculty who commit to a year-long kind of sustained professional learning journey and experience, learning about how to use data, not just use it, but to activate it and use the data kind of in conversations and in context of where they're at. So, you know, they learn to not just compile and analyze data, but talk about data, tell stories about data. And, you know, our faculty data coaches aren't all in leadership roles. These are folks who kind of like raise their hand and seek to lead from where they are. So we've actually had a fair number of adjunct faculty members participate.
Excellent. No, that sounds really exciting. Yeah, I think we all have a little bit of different flavors how we utilize our equity coaches, or not equity, but our data coaches. And I really feel that they've added a lot of value and just expanded the work of data and research across institutions. But as you've started maturing your whole program, how have you integrated equity into your data coaching program?
Yeah, I actually don't feel like I answered this part of your first question, but kind of to start, what data coaches do. So you know who they are, what they do, what they're responsible for. And on our campus, they typically get a stipend for doing this work, is to coach others on the campus, kind of facilitating, you know, like data conversations and getting them to ask research questions and things like that. And so that's always been kind of the fundamental core part of it. Well, with equity, you know, that's kind of like the core, especially racial equity is the core of like our college priorities at the moment. And so initially we focused on just broadly data and how to get folks to talk about data, make sense of data, and how to coach others to do that. And we always had some kind of sessions related to the mechanics of equity data. So how is it calculated? How do you calculate gaps? And even things like how do you ask an equity-minded equity research question? But you know, now we're in version 4 of our data coaching program. It is like intentionally designed to help facilitate others specifically talk about racial equity data in their departments and committees. So it's moved away from the technical aspects and more about how do you prepare for difficult conversations? How do you pivot out of conversations when things get tense or unproductive because people are afraid to talk about race and racial equity data? So those are the kinds of things we're working on. So it's not just integrated, it is, you know, equities kind of all throughout the program.
Excellent. No, that's really good. And I really think others listening should probably really consider how they're blending back or leading their programs with that. So that's great. And so how has data coaching impacted the work of your research office?
You know, you would think that it would have actually created more bandwidth for our office, right? Because now you have other people talking about data, but that's actually not the case. So if you are an IR professional, I wanted to manage your expectations. It actually doesn't lighten your load, but it changes the nature of your job. So now instead of getting all of these like unrelated, like laundry lists of data questions and requests, you get more meaningful ones, like people who have thought about data, have thought about have gone through the inquiry process, asking more meaningful data. So we get to work on more, for me, fun projects, and things that are going to make a difference. So for example, previously, like we would do a lot of like data, providing data to the campus about like enrollment management, that's great and that's important, but it's not the sexiest part of our job. And with the data coaching, we really, really transformed our data culture. And so more people have agency to kind of think about data and grapple with data and wrestle with data and ask questions. And so now we're working on, for example, a project I just started this week where we're doing observations, watching students, in Zoom virtually navigate our websites and our student information system to enroll in classes, so that it can give us insight about what are the barriers and what can we do to improve our kind of like scheduling and enrollment process. And we wouldn't have gotten there, I don't think, without our data culture that data coaches help kind of form.
Well, that's awesome. That's really cool. The new innovative things you're doing. We'll probably have to talk about that later. And you can share some of the insight you're gaining from that. And so as we start talking about the future, what do you see for the future of data coach program development?
I think if you're just starting off, and this was always kind of our initial intent, is, right now it's focused a lot on democratizing access to data. So getting data into people's hands, like where to go to get data, where to go to compile it and how to analyze it. But I think really the future, what we're learning is that that's not enough, that people are hungry to learn more. And so once they get the data, they want to know what to do with it and how do I activate it, like in my department. And so I think that's kind of like where the future is how to kind of promote through data coaches, getting them to help facilitate kind of the data sense making and data conversations on your campus. And a lot of that is relational too. So it's not the technical skills, but the soft skills, like I was saying with our equity focused data coaching program, preparing them for conversations, working through case studies. So I think, that's kind of the future, I think, because once they have the data, they want to know how to use it.
Most definitely. It's kind of like if you have like a Lamborghini in your garage, but it's stick shift, and imagine all you know is how to drive like an automatic.
Yeah.
Like you want to be able to teach them so they can utilize it to its full potential. So that's cool. That sounds like a great opportunity. And hopefully everybody listening really kind of takes that in and says, how can we really make data actionable or meaningful or really dig into the insight. And so now we go to our bonus question, which really ties to the name of our program. There's two of them. So the first question is we've heard data, at least I've heard data say many different ways, such as data. How do you say it?
I say data, and everyone else is wrong. Other ways are weird. It sounds weird in my ears. So I say data.
Funny. All good. 100% on point. Everyone has said data. I've been told like datum is like the foundation. So I said, okay, thank you. Thank you for the lecture. And so, and then goes to our second, one of our most important questions of the show is, what is your favorite donut?
I'm not a big donut fan. I'm more of a savory person. But when I do eat donuts, I like the twisty ones with the maple on top. Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah.
But I can only have like a couple bites of it. Like donuts are too sweet for me, but that's what I go for. Yeah.
Excellent choice. Cool. Well, thank you so much for hanging out today, sharing some insight on data coaching, and hopefully we can meet up again to talk about some of the future work you're doing. So I hope you have a great day, and thanks again.
Thanks, Aaron.